Hello, my friends. Happy December 20th, and welcome to MicroStrategy Today, the only daily show that's bringing you MicroStrategy highlights, news, and updates 7 days a week. Please remember that nothing in this is financial advice. This is just opinions. Consult a financial advisor before making any decisions. And we're going to start today's show a little bit differently because I feel like we need to. It's been a little bit of a bloodbath. Listen, all-time high of 108. As I record this, Bitcoin's down to 93. It might be lower. It might be higher by the time that you're watching this. Nobody knows. But listen, a essentially 15,000 Bitcoin correction. It's not fun. Nobody wants that. So I wanted to go into a little bit of a rant about what happens now. So the reality is this. The Fed dropped rates as we expected. We expected them to drop rates, but we did not expect the very hawkish tone that they used, claiming or at least insinuating that in upcoming 2025, there's going to be less rates than we would have otherwise potentially expected. That caused the market to crash, or not crash, but drop heavily. That caused Bitcoin to do what it's doing now, which of course, MicroStrategy is a Bitcoin play, is doing what it's doing. It's not fun. Nobody wants to be here, but this is a reality of the volatile world that we live in when we choose to be a part of Bitcoin, when we choose to be a part of MicroStrategy. And this is where I really wanted to just say that I recommend what I'm doing is I'm creating a thesis. I have a thesis about Bitcoin. I know Bitcoin. I've studied Bitcoin. I've researched Bitcoin. I believe in Bitcoin. I have a thesis around Bitcoin. I've chosen to believe that thesis because of the research that I've done and the beliefs that I've held. And therefore, MicroStrategy plays amazing into my thesis. So when we have these drawdowns, they're never fun for anybody. I'm never going to suggest that. But please do remember Michael Saylor's common phrase, volatility is a feature, not a bug. This is the reason why MicroStrategy is so valuable, is because it is so volatile. That's why it's so valuable in the options market, in the convertible note market, because it is so volatile. So we have to just have our thesis, know why we're in an investment like Bitcoin, like MicroStrategy, and stick to that thesis, surround ourselves with the right people, which I'll be getting to in a little bit here. Because right now what's happening? There's a lot of fudders that are out there spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They have their own thesis, and it could be the opposite of what mine is, which is I believe in Bitcoin, I believe in MicroStrategy. And so they're out there and they're just saying, things like MicroStrategy, could get liquidated. MicroStrategy is never going to be in the S&P 500. There's news articles about that today. We're not even going to look at them today, but they're out there. You can find them. The reality is that's just not the situation that is here. None of MicroStrategy's shares are encumbered. There is no liquidation. MicroStrategy would have to see Bitcoin go down to around 16,000 per Bitcoin and stay there for multiple years before any concerns would even come up, because MicroStrategy will never be forced to liquidate. They will never be forced to sell their Bitcoin. But there would be an issue if it was down at 16,000, give or take, and that number can fluctuate a little bit, and it stayed there for years. This is why MicroStrategy has taken a very conservative approach, believe it or not, when it comes to the debt that it takes on. It has a low debt ratio overall, and it ladders. It ladders by the year, so that if there is a really down or bad year of Bitcoin, they're not getting everything hit all at once. This was very strategic by MicroStrategy and by Michael Saylor. And this is why in the last big drawdown, guess what? Nothing happened to MicroStrategy. They just rode it out. When it went from 69,000 to 18,000, even down to 16,000, guess what? MicroStrategy is still here today and thriving in a lot of ways, as you can see by this chart that I'm having up here, up 469% over 1 year. Now, I know a lot of us did not enjoy all of that ride. I did not enjoy all of that ride. That's just a reality. But that is the ride that happened over the past year, because this is what happens when a thesis plays out in the way that the people that had that thesis expect it to. Because when Bitcoin made its run, what happened? MicroStrategy made its major run. And because I believe in Bitcoin and have for a long time and believe in MicroStrategy, I was able to participate in some of that great run up. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it. And that's why I remain very bullish on MicroStrategy, because when the market conditions are right and things happen in a positive manner for Bitcoin, things happen in a very positive manner for MicroStrategy. So just kind of going back, if you don't believe in the future of Bitcoin, then you don't believe in the future of MicroStrategy, because their futures are intertwined 100%. So what is your thesis? What do you believe in? That will just help you a lot, rest at night and know that these drawbacks happen. And I'm going to be getting into some of this a little bit later in the video today. But this is just kind of going back to what I was sharing at the end of the video yesterday. You have to surround yourself with the right people. With the right people, my friends. Nobody knows the future, but I believe right now, I do truly believe this, that these are exciting times. And I'm surrounding myself with those who feel the same, because people are going to overstress both ways. They're going to overstress when things are going too high, too fast. And they're going to overstress when things are going the opposite way, when there's a drawdown that's happening. My strategy is this. I will never use leverage. I will just invest in companies and in crypto, specifically Bitcoin, that I believe in their thesis, that I believe that they have an amazing future because I have done the research, I've put in the time, and I have that belief system set. And so I will never use leverage, so that I never have a situation where I have to sell at the worst possible time during a major dip, during a major drawdown. I want to let this thesis play out. I'm going to let MicroStrategy's thesis play out over years, not over days, not over weeks, not over months, over years, because I believe where this is going. Period. End of story. There are so many positive catalysts coming up for Bitcoin in 2025. It's not even funny. Like, there's so many positive catalysts. There's a very pro Bitcoin president and cabinet members right now that are being elected. It's never anything has been seen like this. FASB, for the first time ever, fair market accounting is going to allow MicroStrategy to show actual earnings. I mean, they have earnings from their unbelievable investments over the years. They can't show that yet, but they will be able to in 2025, which will change so much. There's the MSCI rebalance, which is a major index. That's going to be a big positive for MicroStrategy. There's Russell Index Rank Day coming up. That's going to be a huge benefit and boost, in my opinion, positive long term. You never know what it's going to be short term, but in my opinion, it's going to be a great boost long term for MicroStrategy, because it's going to be a great ranking opportunity for MicroStrategy. There's a possible S&P 500 inclusion for either Q2 or Q3. That would be obviously unbelievably massive for MicroStrategy. And this fair market accounting is giving its really last check mark that it needs, which is positive net earnings over 4 consecutive quarters, which MicroStrategy almost positively will have, based on where they're at right now and where they're going to be in 2025 and beyond. That should allow them to be included in the S&P 500. Of course, there is a committee with the S&P 500 who could come in and make a final decision. But the reality is MicroStrategy will have checked all the blocks to be included. So that's very interesting. There's a Q4 earnings report for MicroStrategy where we're going to get to hear their 2025 plans. In my opinion, my friends, this is must see TV. This is must see TV. I'm going to have my popcorn out. I might even do a live stream here, for anybody that wants to join and just kind of have some live stream comments and just interactions, because, man, I think that Michael Saylor saw the power of what he did in his Q3 earnings report, and he's just going to go to town on this Q4 earnings report. And I cannot wait. And that's coming up, obviously, in about a month or two. So I'll keep you updated about that. So many great catalysts coming up. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons, in my opinion, to be very bullish about Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. If, again, you've developed a thesis, you surround yourself with the right people who believe in your thesis, and you block out the FUD, you block out the toxicity. I have muted a ton of people in X. I have unfollowed a ton of people just because, hey, they're entitled to their opinions, and that's fine. I just don't want or need to have it as part of my life. I've decided what my thesis is, what my beliefs are, and I'm sticking to that. I look at charts like I've been showing you now for this entire rant that I've been on, and I just zoom out and I say, over a year, MicroStrategy is up 469%. That could drop a little bit in the upcoming days, or that could start to move to the upside the next couple of days. I don't know. I'm honestly, over this weekend, I mean, I'm going to be doing a couple videos for you on Saturday and Sunday, but I'm not going to be obsessively checking what's happening because I know that Bitcoin is going to have its pullback, which it had. It's going to flush out all of those leveraged longs, and then it's going to stage a comeback as it has for now, 15 years now, and only more bull catalysts are coming. Okay, enough of that. Let me know in the comments what you think about what I just shared. And I'd love to hear your thoughts because I interact with every single comment that comes in. Let's move over to the MicroStrategy tracker. Stock price down at 326. And honestly, it's likely going to open a lot lower because of what Bitcoin is trading at. Because again, it's tied to Bitcoin. This is what happens when you are involved in a company that's involved in Bitcoin, period. The S&P 500 is at 122 of 500. Bitcoin price as of this current recording is 94. Actually, if I refresh it, I know that is down to more like 93. It is what it is. The Bitcoin value per share is at $170. The MNAV is at 1.9, $14.4 billion unrealized profit loss for return percentage of 53% return percentage. Boom, shake the room. We've gone through the catalyst, so I'm going to skip that today. I want to just get into some tweets that I thought were very valuable that I think will help us in this narrative, in this thesis that we're continuing to form and hopefully, believe more and more and as we go forward. Michael Saylor tweeted probably nothing. And this is just the inflows from November 27th. Look at this is all positive inflows, hundreds of millions of dollars every day inflowing into the US Bitcoin ETFs. What is happening? Constant buy pressure. The long-term holders that just reach a certain threshold, they're selling in droves. We're flushing them out of the system. And then what happens next? I think we both know what happens next. Higher. Let's go ahead and check this out from Mark. He said, MicroStrategy has issued $7.3 billion in debt to acquire Bitcoin, which is now worth $44.2 billion. A pretty low leverage situation. I mean, look at this. Not everybody, the fudders that are out there, the people that are trying to scare you because they're likely shorting MicroStrategy, or they just frankly are mad because they missed out on MicroStrategy. They're putting this debt. Here's the debt. I mean, they're claiming that MicroStrategy is terrible as a lot of debt, has a lot of leverage. But here's the reality. Here's MicroStrategy's debt. Here's the value of their Bitcoin, and here's their market cap. It is a very low leverage situation when you know the truth, when you know the facts. Chris says, listen, if you can't handle MicroStrategy at the lows, you don't deserve it at the highs. My friends, if you're watching this right now, you deserve it at the highs. I know you do because you're watching this video, you're consuming this content, you're surrounding yourself with the right people who have all formed what, in my opinion, is the right thesis going forward. So other people, they can't handle these lows. And when I say lows, I mean MicroStrategy's up 469% from a year ago, but the relative lows from that little overheated peak of 540, people can't handle these kind of drawdowns, but those who can deserve the highs. So you deserve that high. It's coming. Jeff Walton says, I don't know about y'all, but I actually want Bitcoin to stay down through the end of the year. This establishes a lower basis for MicroStrategy's adoption of FASB fair value accounting in 2025. After 1-1, let the floodgates open. And this is an interesting way to think about it because, again, volatility is a feature, not a bug. And in this case, volatility could really work in our favor because here's basically what Jeff is saying. He's saying if Bitcoin stays kind of like in a drawdown, in the 90s or wherever it may stay down, 80s, whoever knows where it might go down to. But if it does stay down, towards, into the end of the year, and then into the beginning part of 2025, that establishes what MicroStrategy's cost basis was for that year. So what that means is if and when Bitcoin, starts to make its move to the higher side again and starts making all-time highs again, which by the way, it was doing for 7 weeks in a row. I mean, of course we needed a drawback at some point. So this is what's happening. Then when it comes to the actual earnings, it's going to look even so much better because of the value that was locked in at the end of 2024. And this is only going to help for its inclusion in the S&P 500. So this is what Jeff's talking about. It's actually, in a way, it's a good thing if Bitcoin / MicroStrategy stay lower for the remainder of the year. and then explode in 2025, because then they can have that look back and what the earnings actually are, and that net positive, the positive net earnings 4 quarters in a row, which is, again, it's a summation. It doesn't have to be actually net earnings for every quarter for 4 quarters, but a summation over those 4 quarters of positive net earnings. Then the S&P 500, that last check gets checked, and then it can be considered for the S&P 500 by the committee and beyond. Let's go to this post. I wanted to share this because I just love this person's perspective. He's one of the individuals that I follow, and I just always read his full tweets because I do love them. He wrote, "Remember January 2021? I do. I was there. Bitcoin plunged 31% in a matter of weeks. Everyone was asking, was that it? Was that the end? After breaking through the previous all-time high, Bitcoin went parabolic all the way to 42,000, and then it plunged to 28,800, and people thought it might have been over, a blow off top, down 31%. That was a proper dip. People were scared. BlackRock wasn't buying billions. The incoming president wasn't surrounded by raging Bitcoin bulls, nor was he planning to pump his own crypto bags. There was nary a whisper of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but still the hodlers hodled. And with little more than a catchy beat of visually impaired Turkish drummer and his head bobbing cat to keep them going. But that was 2021, back when men were men. Well, some men were men. I digress. The point is, if you're scared now at 95,000 or 93,000, you will absolutely be terrified at 74,500. And the reason why he put that number is because that's what that 31% drawdown would look like. It would take you to there. That would be a comparable drawdown to 2021. But if you panic sell at any point in this bull run, only one thing is certain. You'll never reach the promised land of seven-figure Bitcoin. The only people who make it are the ones who survive many dips. They will earn superhuman returns. Will you? Stack hodler, I will keep consuming your content, my friend. You are one of those individuals that I surround myself with in both the good times and the tough times. And I just wanted to share this tweet as well. This is from Michael Saylor himself. Enjoy the ride. He's just basically saying, listen, this is going to be a roller coaster. Michael Saylor is saying, I promised you volatility. Here is volatility. This is a feature, not a bug. This is going to happen. We're going to have amazing weeks, and then we're going to have rough weeks, and amazing weeks and rough weeks. But if the thesis that we believe plays out, exciting times are ahead. And the video that I wanted to share with you, this is a big flashback. This is 13 years ago, Michael Saylor. This is Michael Saylor, 13 years younger. And he's talking about the Apple iPhone. And to me, this just shows what a visionary Michael Saylor always was and still is, in the fact that he just understands things at a very intricate and meaningful level. And he builds a thesis and he sticks to his thesis. And he rode that mobile wave for all it was worth. You can see he wrote a book about it. It's called The Mobile Wave. It's in this video. So enjoy this video by Michael Saylor, circa 2012.
If you ask me, Apple Computer is going to $2,000 a share, right? I mean, I'd be very, very long that company. Whoever's selling that stock must be a moron, right? I mean, this is a company that's going to actually have 4 billion devices out there. If they roll them over once every 4 years, they're going to sell 1 billion devices a year. And the thing that people they don't get, right? You either get it, or you don't get it. I'm going to come back to your PC question. I know a lot about PCs. I bought 10,000, 20,000 PCs in my life. I got 3,000 sitting underneath my desks. You put a Dell computer underneath the desk, you don't care that it's loud and it's hot and it's a power hog and it's ugly and it's heavy and it's like an ugly beige cabinet with screws showing. You don't give a crap. You just want it to be $400 or $500. Okay? You put a phone in your pocket and you sleep on it or next to it. You care whether it's hot. You care what it looks like. You care the battery life. You care about the radio. This is an iPhone 5. This runs 10 times faster than an iPhone 4. There's not an 8-year-old on the planet that doesn't want an iPhone 5. Right? Who wants to wait 42 seconds to watch something download instead of 2 seconds? Nobody. Right? You don't have to be a genius to run an Apple computer. You just have to, every year, make the product a bit lighter, a bit more elegant, make it a better radio, make it a better battery. And then I sat with one of the 10 richest guys in the world for dinner. 5 nights ago, and we had dinner for 4 hours, and he did half the talking, I did half the talking. And he's much more successful than I am. I understand that, by the way. As I said, it's like, you don't, sometimes you got to do other things than just have opinions to make money, right? There's a lot of execution involved in the rest, but I have opinions. So he said to me, Apple Computer, can these guys hold their prices? Aren't they going to follow the model of the PC industry? And aren't their prices going to taper down? Their 40% margins going to become 30 and 35 and 20. And it's another example of people just know enough to hurt themselves, right? If you're going to know a subject, you better know the subject, because being like a dilettante and knowing part of the subject is just enough to hurt yourself somehow. And I said, no, their gross margins don't have to tailor down. I mean, if you go to France, and this is the benefit of seeing enough, you go to France, you see Bernardo Arnault runs a company, LVMH. They're selling handbags for $4,000, $3,000, $2,500 each. This is a device that women view as fashion, and it's 10,000 years old. And for 10,000 years, no, the prices are not lower after 10,000 years. If you actually care about this thing, how many women have $300 pair of shoes? How many have two? How many have more than two? Right? The truth of the matter is when the technology goes from being a utilitarian vocational brick that I put under my desk, no one gives a crap about that, to being a piece of clothing, right? A fashion statement, extension of your personality, a piece of jewelry. And iPhones, iPads, they're somewhere between clothing and jewelry and accessory. At that point, they can hold that price point forever. They can basically sell you another $500 device every 2 years forever, because everybody's got five. And the first billion people have got that, and the rest of the world's getting elevated up. So I think that you're going to see you'll see a wider diversity of offerings. You'll see there will be cheaper tablets, and the $100 tablet will go to Pakistan and the 700 million peasants of China, and more power to them. That means those 700 million peasants are going to get a college education and get a master's of computer science, and I'll probably be hiring 20,000 of them, and I'll pay them $5,000 a year, which will be 5 times more than $1,000 a year, and then I'll pay them $10,000 a year, and the entire society will go from 2 billion to 3 billion to 5 billion white-collar workers, and as their discretionary income increases, they're going to buy more and more expensive things. And anybody sitting in the middle of that, controlling the software application networks that have all the asset value in them, those companies are going to benefit in a marvelous fashion.
There you have it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed another episode of MicroStrategy Today. Let me know in the comments if you resonated at all with that little rant that I went on, because it is a bloodbath right now. And a lot of people are asking, understandably so, what is going to happen now? What happens next? And I hope you realize, in my opinion, what happens next is this is a Bitcoin volatility play. Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down. And the people that can just, I don't even want to say embrace, but people that can brace themselves during these wild swings, they don't get too high on the highs and they don't get too low on the lows. Those are the individuals that years from now are just going to be looking back at these times and being like, what? You could buy MicroStrategy in the 300s? That is insane. Like, I can't believe that was even an option. So who knows what the future may hold? None of what I share is financial advice. It is my thoughts, my research, other people's thoughts, other people's research, our opinions. Consult a financial advisor before you make any financial decisions. As Michael Saylor says, enjoy the ride, my friends, because it's going to be a ride. And a big thank you to our sponsor, NordVPN, for sponsoring today's episode. If you want to protect your online identity, your family's online identity for a few bucks a month, check out the link in my description. They're offering a great holiday deal right now. I highly recommend at least checking it out. I've been using them for many, many years now, and it just helps me feel more secure, and it's very handy. They have a lot of additional options as well. So right in the description is my affiliate link. It helps support my sponsor, support the show. And as Michael Saylor says, there is no second best.